The rules were simple. Don't touch anything in Han So-yul's office. Don't move his pens. Don't shift his books. And definitely, under absolutely no circumstances, don't sit in his chair. Everyone who worked at the Black Tower knew this. Everyone except Zanelli Kumalo, the night cleaner, who'd been working for 18 hours straight and just needed to rest her eyes for 1 minute. 1 minute turned into 4 hours. 4 hours turned into the moment her boss, the cold, powerful man everyone feared, walked in and found her sleeping in his personal space. His OCD should have sent him into a panic. His reputation demanded he fire her immediately. Instead, he took off his expensive coat and gently covered her shoulders. By morning, the whole building would be talking. By the end of the month, nothing would ever be the same. The clock on the wall showed 3 in the morning, when Han Se-yul pushed open the door to his office. He wasn't supposed to be here. Nobody was supposed to be here. But sleep had been impossible, and the business deal eating at his mind needed one more review before tomorrow's meeting. His hand reached for the light switch, then stopped. Someone was in his chair. Not just near it, not just touching it. Someone was asleep in the black leather chair that nobody, absolutely nobody, was allowed to sit in. His chair, the one he sanitized every morning, the one positioned exactly 45 degrees from his desk. Se-yul's breathing went shallow. His fingers started their familiar counting pattern against his thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The ritual that kept panic from swallowing him whole. But he didn't move, didn't call security, didn't do any of the 12 things his mind screamed at him to do. Because the person in his chair was a young woman in a cleaning uniform, her head tilted awkwardly to one side, a spray bottle still loosely held in one hand. Her other hand had fallen across his desk, and he could see the rubber gloves were torn at the fingertips. She looked completely exhausted, the kind of tired that pulls you under without warning. Something twisted in Se-yul's chest, something that had nothing to do with contamination or disorder, or any of his usual fears. He should wake her, should demand an explanation, should fix the 3 pens she'd knocked out of alignment, and the notebook shifted 2 inches to the left. Instead, he stood frozen in his own doorway, watching her breathe. Her name tag read Zanelli, though he couldn't make out the last name in the dim light from the hallway. Dark skin, hair pulled back in a simple style, features peaceful despite the uncomfortable position, young, maybe mid-20s. And then Se-yul did something that would have shocked every single person who knew him. He took off his coat, the expensive black one he'd worn to the late meeting across town, and carefully, so carefully, draped it over her shoulders. His hands shook the entire time, not from fear of contamination, though that whispered at the edges of his mind, but from something else entirely, something he couldn't name. The coat settled around her, and she shifted slightly, pulling it closer without waking. Se-yul backed out of his office, closed the door with a quiet click, and walked to the elevator in complete silence. He didn't understand what had just happened, didn't understand why he'd broken every rule he'd set for himself, didn't understand why the image of her sleeping face was now burned into his mind. The elevator doors closed, and Han Se-yul realized his perfectly controlled life had just spun completely off its axis. 12 hours earlier, Zanelli Kumalo had been having the worst day in a string of already terrible days. "Please, I can cover the shift," she'd told her supervisor, trying not to sound desperate. "Whoever called in sick, I can do their floors too." The supervisor, a middle-aged Korean woman who'd always been kind to her, hesitated. "That's 18 hours, Zanelli. You already worked your 8. I need the money." 3 words that explained everything and nothing. The supervisor didn't know about the text message Zanelli had received that morning from her brother in South Africa. Didn't know that their little sister Thandiwe needed new school supplies, and their brother Sifo's university fees were due next week. Didn't know that Zanelli sent home almost everything she earned, keeping just enough for her tiny apartment and the cheapest food she could find. "Okay," the supervisor finally said, "but take breaks, real ones." Zanelli had nodded, knowing she wouldn't. Breaks didn't pay. By hour 12, her feet ached. By hour 15, her vision blurred. By hour 17, she was moving on pure determination, her body somewhere beyond exhaustion. The Black Tower, they called this building. 63 floors of glass and steel and money. Zanelli cleaned floors 40 through 63, the executive levels. She'd been doing it for 8 months now, ever since arriving in Seoul with nothing but a work visa and hope. Seoul was nothing like home. The language wrapped around her ears in sounds she still couldn't fully understand. The food was different. The air was different. Even the way people moved through crowds was different. She missed the warmth of Durban, missed hearing Zulu on the streets, missed her siblings so much some nights she couldn't breathe. But she was mother of peace, like her name said. She carried her family's hopes. So she cleaned floors and smiled, and pretended the loneliness didn't cut quite so deep. Floor 63 was special. That's what the other cleaners said. That's where he worked. Han So-yul, the owner of the building, the man everyone whispered about. Rumor had it he was connected to dangerous people. Others said he was just crazy, obsessed with perfection and order. Nobody really knew. Don't touch anything on 63, her supervisor had warned on her first day. Clean, but put everything back exactly where you found it. Exactly. Mr. Han notices everything. Zanelli had never seen him. He came early and left late, and she worked nights. Their worlds didn't overlap. Until tonight. She entered his office at 2:30 in the morning. The door had been unlocked. Unusual, but not unheard of. Maybe he'd forgotten. Maybe he'd left in a hurry. The office was warm. That was the first thing she noticed. Most offices ran cold at night to save energy. But this one was comfortable. Almost cozy. Her aching body appreciated it immediately. The second thing she noticed was how precise everything looked. The desk held a laptop, closed and centered perfectly. Pens in a row, all black, all the same brand. A single notebook, with its corner aligned to the desk's edge. Books on the shelves, organized by height and color. Not a single item out of place. It was like a picture, not a real workspace. Zanelli cleaned carefully, moving around the desk, wiping down surfaces, running the vacuum over the dark carpet. Everything went back exactly where she'd found it. She'd gotten good at this, at remembering the exact position of objects. It was like a game she played with herself. The chair, though, that chair looked so comfortable. Black leather, high back, the kind that probably felt like sitting on a cloud. Her feet screamed at her. 18 hours. She'd been standing, walking, bending, lifting for 18 hours straight. Just for a minute, she told herself. Just 1 minute to rest before finishing the last 3 offices. The chair welcomed her like an embrace. Soft, supportive, perfectly angled. Zanelli let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Her eyes closed, just for a second, just to rest them. Before you keep reading, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button right now. It actually helps more than you think, and I notice every single one. Trust me, this story is about to get wild. Sleep took her under like a wave, fast and complete. She dreamed of home, of Thandiwe laughing, of Sifo showing her his university books with pride, of sunshine and familiar voices and belonging. The dream was so sweet, she didn't want to wake up. When consciousness finally crept back in, Zanelli felt warmth around her shoulders, something soft and expensive smelling. Her eyes opened slowly, confusion clouding her thoughts. A coat. Someone had put a coat over her. Reality crashed back. The office. The chair. She'd fallen asleep. In someone's office. In his office. Zanelli shot upright, the coat falling into her lap. Panic flooded her system. The windows showed early morning light. What time was it? How long had she been asleep? Her phone read 6:15. She'd slept for almost 4 hours. No, she whispered, looking around frantically. The office was empty, but someone had clearly been here. Someone had covered her with this coat, this beautiful black coat, that felt like it cost a month of her salary. She stood, folded the coat carefully, and placed it on the chair. Her cleaning supplies were still scattered around. She hadn't finished, hadn't completed the last offices. Her supervisor was going to kill her. Worse, She might get fired. Zanelli gathered her things with shaking hands, checked one more time that everything on the desk remained in position, and ran. She didn't see the man watching from the doorway of the conference room across the hall, didn't see the way Han So-yul's eyes followed her to the elevator, his expression unreadable. Didn't see him return to his office, pick up the coat she'd folded, and hold it for a long moment, before finally putting it back in his closet. By 8 in the morning, the entire building was talking. "I'm telling you, I saw it with my own eyes," Executive Kim said to a cluster of managers in the break room. He was a weasel of a man, always sniffing around for gossip to weaponize. She was asleep in his chair, and he was standing there watching her. Then he put his coat on her, his personal coat. "Mr. Han? Our Mr. Han?" "The same, and you know what that means." The gossip spread like fire. By 9, people were saying Zanelli was his secret girlfriend. By 10, rumors claimed she was blackmailing him with something. By 11, theories ranged from mistress to long-lost relative to corporate spy. Zanelli knew none of this. She'd gone home, showered, and collapsed into bed, terrified she'd be fired the moment she returned to work. But Han So-yul knew. He heard the whispers that went silent when he walked past, saw the knowing looks, read the email Executive Kim had sent to half the management team, spreading the story under the guise of a security concern. His hands curled into fists, the only outward sign of anger he allowed himself. Then he began his counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He should address this, should call a meeting, should fire Kim for spreading gossip. Instead, he pulled up the building's security footage from last night. The camera in his office had been disabled for months. He couldn't stand knowing he was being watched in his own space, but the hallway cameras worked fine. He watched Zanelli enter his office at 2:30, cleaning supplies in hand. Watched her exit at 6:17, running, clearly distressed. Between those times, nothing, just a closed door. Then he pulled up footage from other nights, watched her clean, watched the careful way she handled objects, the attention she paid to putting things back precisely, watched her help another cleaner, who looked overwhelmed, watched her eat dinner alone in the break room, looking at photos on her phone. In one clip, he could see her on a video call, the phone propped against a wall while she cleaned. She was smiling, laughing, talking to people he couldn't see, her whole face transformed. Then the call ended, and the smile dropped away, replaced by exhaustion. So-yul watched that clip 3 times. He didn't understand why. His therapist would probably say he was fixating, finding a new object for his obsessive thoughts. But this felt different. This felt like curiosity, like interest, like something human that had been buried under years of ritual and fear. A knock on his door made him close the footage. "Come in." His assistant entered, a young man who'd learned to keep his distance and never touch anything on the desk. "Sir, the morning briefing is ready. Also, there's been some talk among staff about last night. I thought you should know." "I'm aware. Should we issue a statement or speak with HR about the rumors?" So-yul considered this. The logical move would be to shut down the gossip immediately, make it clear that nothing inappropriate had occurred, protect both his reputation and the cleaners. But another part of him, the part that had placed a coat over sleeping shoulders, didn't want to. "No statement," he said finally. "Let people talk. It will die down." His assistant looked surprised but nodded. "Yes, sir. Also, you have the board meeting at 10, lunch with the sole branch directors at noon, and the quarterly review at 3. The day stretched ahead, identical to every other day. Meetings, decisions, numbers, deals. All of it carefully scheduled and controlled. All of it safe. All of it, suddenly, feeling empty. "Cancel lunch," So-yul said. "Sir, I have something else to handle. Reschedule it." After his assistant left, So-yul pulled up the building's HR files. Found Zanelli Kumalo's employment record. 24 years old. From South Africa. Work visa valid for 2 more years. Employed for 8 months with perfect attendance and 0 complaints. Emergency contact was listed as a brother in Durban. The file noted she'd requested information about Korean language classes during her onboarding, but hadn't enrolled in any. There was a note from her supervisor commending her reliability and attention to detail. That was all. A life reduced to a few lines in a database. Seo-yul made a call to his personal attorney. I need you to set up an anonymous scholarship for Korean language classes, paid in full, including materials. Of course. Who's the recipient? He gave Zanelli's name and information. Make sure it's completely anonymous. She shouldn't be able to trace it back to me or this company. Understood. Any particular reason? No, Seo-yul said, though it was a lie. Just do it quickly. After hanging up, he sat back in his chair, the same chair she'd slept in. He should have it cleaned, should sanitize it, should probably replace it entirely. He did none of those things. Instead, he went to his meeting, and for the first time in years, only half his mind was on business. The other half was wondering if she'd slept well, if she'd gotten in trouble, if she was okay. Zanelli returned to work that night, expecting to be called into the supervisor's office and fired. Instead, she found a note in her locker. No worries about last night. Everyone needs rest. Just don't make it a habit. Your floors are reassigned for tonight. Take the lower levels. Relief flooded through her. Not fired. Not even in trouble. Maybe nobody had noticed. Maybe she'd gotten impossibly lucky. She had no idea that 7 floors above her, Han So-yul was working late again, and every time the elevator dinged, he looked up, hoping it might be her. Had no idea that Executive Kim was watching her through the break room window, plotting. Had no idea that her life was about to get very, very complicated. The next escalation came 2 days later. Zanelli was eating lunch in the staff cafeteria, a cheap bowl of rice and vegetables, when 3 women from the administrative pool sat down at her table. She recognized them, but had never spoken to any of them before. You're Zanelli, right? The first one said. Her smile was sharp. The night cleaner. Yes. Hi, Zanelli said, trying to be friendly despite the strange energy coming from them. So, we're all just curious, the second woman said, leaning in. How long have you been seeing Mr. Han? Zanelli nearly choked on her rice. What? I'm not. I don't even know him. Really? Because people saw you in his office, in his chair, with his coat around you. The third woman laughed. Come on, you can tell us. Is it serious? Are you like, together? Together? No. Zanel's face burned. I fell asleep while cleaning. That's all. I was exhausted and I made a mistake. Sure, the first woman said, her voice dripping with disbelief. You just accidentally fell asleep in the one office nobody's allowed to touch anything in. And he just accidentally gave you his coat. That makes total sense. It's the truth. Right. Well, just so you know, some of us have worked here for years, and we've never even had a real conversation with him. But you show up and suddenly you're special. They stood up together, a coordinated movement that felt rehearsed. Just be careful, the second woman said. Men like that don't date people like you for real. You're just entertainment. They left, and Zanelli sat frozen, her appetite gone. People like you. The words echoed in her head. She knew what they meant, knew the assumptions they were making. Foreign, black, a cleaner, not good enough for their perfect, powerful boss. Shame and anger mixed in her stomach. She hadn't done anything wrong, hadn't asked for any of this, but already people were making her into something she wasn't, judging her for things that hadn't even happened. She threw away her half-eaten lunch and went back to work, keeping her head down. But the whispers followed her, in hallways. In the bathroom, even the other cleaners started treating her differently. Some jealous, some curious, some outright hostile. By the end of the week, Zanelli was eating lunch in a bathroom stall to avoid people. She had no idea that Han So-yul had heard every word of the cafeteria conversation. That Executive Kim had made sure of it, playing the security footage during a management meeting under the pretense of addressing workplace gossip. Had no idea that Seo-yul's hands had clenched so hard during the playback that he'd left marks in his palms. Had no idea that he'd quietly had HR mark Executive Kim for termination, just waiting for the right moment. and she definitely had no idea that the scholarship notification she received that Friday, offering her a full ride to the Korean language program she'd dreamed about, had come from the same man whose coat still smelled faintly of his cologne when she thought about it late at night. Some connections, it seemed, were being built in silence. But silence never lasts forever. The email came on a Saturday morning, while Zanelli was video calling her siblings. "And then my teacher said my essay was the best in class," Thandaway was saying, her 10-year-old face beaming through the screen. She put it on the wall and everything. "That's amazing, Thandi," Zanelli said, her heart swelling. "I'm so proud of you." "When are you coming home?" her little sister asked, the question she asked every single call. "Soon," Zanelli lied, the word tasting bitter. "I promise." After the call ended, she sat in the silence of her tiny apartment, letting the homesickness wash over her like it did every Saturday. Then her phone chimed. The email subject read, "Scholarship Award Notification." Zanelli's first thought was spam. She almost deleted it, but something made her open it. "Dear Ms. Kumalo, we are pleased to inform you that you have been selected as a recipient of the Seoul International Community Scholarship. This award covers full tuition, materials, and resources for the Korean Language Institute's comprehensive program." She read it 3 times. Then a fourth, then called the number listed at the bottom, convinced it was a scam. "Yes, Ms. Kumalo," the woman on the phone confirmed in English. "You were selected based on your work permit application and employment record. The scholarship is real. Classes begin next Monday if you'd like to accept." "I don't understand. I never applied for this." "The scholarship identifies qualified candidates automatically. Do you accept?" Zanelli's hands shook. Yes, I accept." After hanging up, she cried. Big, relieved sobs that came from somewhere deep. For 8 months, she'd been drowning in a country whose language she couldn't fully speak, isolated and struggling. And now, somehow, the universe had thrown her a rope. She had no idea the universe wore expensive suits and had obsessive-compulsive disorder. Monday came, and with it, her first Korean class. Zanelli arrived early, nervous and excited. The other students were a mix of foreigners and overseas Koreans wanting to improve their skills. For the first time since arriving in Seoul, she didn't feel completely alone. "This is amazing," said the woman sitting next to her, a teacher from the Philippines named Maria. "I've been trying to afford these classes for 2 years. When I got the scholarship email, I thought someone was pranking me." "Me too," Zanelli admitted. "I still don't understand how I got selected." "Who cares? We're here now. That's what matters." The teacher introduced herself and began the first lesson. Zanelli absorbed everything like someone dying of thirst. The sounds started making sense. The patterns emerged. For 3 hours, she forgot about cleaning and loneliness, and whispered rumors. She left class feeling lighter than she had in months. That lightness lasted until her next shift at the Black Tower. The cleaning supervisor called her into the office before she could even get her supplies. "Zanelli, I need to talk to you about a reassignment." Her stomach dropped. "Am I being let go?" "What?" No, the opposite actually. You're being moved to the executive floor permanently. Floor 63 specifically. The floor where he worked, where his office waited. "But I thought I was reassigned away from there." "That was temporary. Look, I'll be honest with you. The request came from upper management. They want someone detail-oriented on that floor, and you're the best I have." The supervisor leaned forward. "I know there's been gossip. Ignore it. Just do your job like you always do. Keep your head down, and everything will be fine." Zanelli wanted to refuse, wanted to explain that being on that floor would only make the rumors worse. But she needed this job, needed the money. "Okay," she said quietly. "I understand." That night, she cleaned every office on floor 63 except his. She saved it for last, steeling herself. The door was locked when she tried it at midnight. Relief flooded through her. She could skip it, say it was locked, come back tomorrow. Then the elevator dinged behind her. Zanelli turned and saw him for the first time since the chair incident. Han So-yul stepped out of the elevator, and her breath caught. He was tall, maybe 6 feet. with sharp features that would have been handsome if they weren't so cold. Dark hair styled perfectly. A gray suit that fit like it was made for him, which it probably was. But it was his eyes that stopped her, dark and intense, and looking directly at her. "Mr. Han," she stammered, backing away from his office door. "I'm sorry. The door was locked and I'll come back later, or tomorrow or whenever." He didn't speak, just walked toward her with measured steps, pulled out a keycard, and unlocked the door. Then he held it open. "I can wait," Zanelli said quickly. "You're working. I don't want to interrupt." "You're not interrupting. This is your job." His voice was quiet, controlled. It matched everything else about him. Controlled, perfect, intimidating. Zanelli gathered her supplies and entered the office, hyper-aware of him behind her. He went to his desk, opened his laptop, and began typing. The only sounds were her movements and the soft click of his keyboard. She worked faster than she'd ever worked, trying to be invisible. Wiped down surfaces, vacuumed carefully, didn't touch the desk. "You're going to miss the corner." His voice made her jump. She turned. "What?" He gestured without looking up from his screen. "The left corner behind the bookshelf. People always miss it." Zanelli checked. He was right. Dust had gathered there, hidden from casual view. She cleaned it, wondering how he'd even noticed from across the room. "Thank you," she said. "You put things back exactly where they were. Other cleaners don't." It wasn't a question, just a statement. Zanel didn't know how to respond. "I try to be careful," she finally said. "I know." The words hung in the air, weighted with meaning she didn't understand. Did he know about the chair? About her falling asleep? Was this his way of acknowledging it? But he said nothing else, just kept typing. Zanelli finished cleaning in record time and practically ran to the door. "Your class," he said as she reached for the handle. "How was it?" She froze, turned slowly. "What?" "The Korean language class. You started today." Her mind spun. How did he know that? She hadn't told anyone at work, hadn't mentioned it to her supervisor. The scholarship was anonymous. "How do you know about that?" For the first time, something flickered across his face. Not quite emotion, but close. Employee records note when staff pursue education. It's automatic. The explanation sounded logical, but felt wrong. Too specific, too interested. "It was good," she said carefully. "Really good." He nodded once. "Good." Zanelli left, her heart pounding for reasons she couldn't name. In the elevator, she tried to make sense of the interaction. He'd known about her class, had waited for her to acknowledge it, had noticed how she cleaned. Was everyone right? Was something happening that she didn't understand? No, that was crazy. He was just observant. Probably had files on all the employees. It meant nothing. But her hands were still shaking when she got home. Seo Yul remained at his desk long after she left, staring at nothing. He'd spoken to her, actually held a conversation, brief as it was, and she'd looked at him with those wide brown eyes, confused and a little scared, and something in his chest had twisted painfully. He pulled up the security footage from tonight, watched himself unlock the door for her, watched the careful way she'd moved around his space, the speed of her work, the moment she'd frozen when he mentioned the class. He'd almost given himself away, almost revealed that he knew far more than he should. His therapist's voice echoed in his head from their last session. "Seo Yul, when you fixate on something, you have to ask yourself why. What need is it filling? What are you actually seeking?" He'd had no answer then, had no answer now, except that watching Zanelli clean had been the most peaceful he'd felt in weeks. And her voice, accented and uncertain, had somehow quieted the constant noise in his head. His phone buzzed. A text from Executive Kim. "Sir, regarding the security concerns we discussed, I really think we should address the night cleaning staff situation. Happy to meet tomorrow to discuss protocols." Seo Yul deleted the message without responding. Then he opened a different message thread, the one with his attorney. "Has the scholarship payment been processed?" "Yes," the reply came immediately. "Completely anonymous as requested. She accepted the award today. Good. Seo Yul allowed himself the smallest smile. Then he went back to work, pointedly ignoring the fact that his office smelled faintly of the cleaning solution she used, and that he found the scent comforting. The week that followed established a strange routine. Every night, Seo Yul worked late. Every night, Zanelli came to clean his office around midnight. Sometimes he was there, working silently while she moved around him. Sometimes he arrived just as she finished, and they'd exchange brief words. Nothing personal, nothing deep. But something was building between them, unspoken and undeniable. On Wednesday, she noticed his hands, really noticed them, red and raw, like he'd scrubbed them with sandpaper. When he caught her looking, he pulled his sleeves down to cover them. On Thursday, he left a tube of hand cream on the corner of his desk with a tiny note, "For the hands that bring order." She'd stared at it for 5 full minutes before taking it, face burning. On Friday, she left her own note on his keyboard. All items returned to original positions. Z. Small things, tiny acknowledgments, but they felt massive. Her Korean class became a bright spot in every week. She made friends, learned rapidly, felt herself becoming part of Seoul instead of just existing in it. Maria invited her to a gathering of international workers, and for the first time, Zanelli had plans on a Saturday that didn't involve crying over video calls. Everything should have been getting better. Instead, the harassment got worse. Executive Kim started appearing in the break room whenever Zanelli was there, never speaking to her directly, but talking loudly to others. I just think it's interesting how some people advance by working hard, and others take shortcuts. Heard she's getting special treatment now. Permanent assignment to the executive floor. Wonder what she did to earn that. You know what they say, when someone rises too fast, look for the ladder they're climbing. The other women from the cafeteria started a new game. They'd walk past Zanelli in the halls and whisper just loud enough for her to hear. Charity case. Doesn't belong here. How long until he gets bored? One night, Zanelli found her locker had been vandalized. Someone had written "Go home" across it in permanent marker. She stood there, staring at the words, feeling everything crash down. The loneliness, the exhaustion, the constant judgment. She'd done nothing wrong. Nothing. But somehow she'd become the villain in a story she didn't even understand. In the bathroom, she let herself cry for exactly 5 minutes. Then she washed her face, fixed her expression, and went to work. Because that's what she did. That's who she was. Mother of peace. She carried on. But the weight was getting heavier. Seo Yul saw the locker the next morning. Security footage showed him stopping in the hallway outside the staff area, staring at the vandalized metal for a long moment. Then he made a call. "I want Executive Kim in my office in 1 hour. And I want HR to pull all security footage from the staff areas for the past 2 weeks. His assistant sounded nervous. "Sir, is something wrong?" "Just do it." The footage told the story clearly. Kim talking to groups of employees, clearly gossiping. The 3 administrative women coordinating their cafeteria ambush. A maintenance worker Seo Yul didn't recognize writing on Zainli's locker while looking around to make sure no one saw. Rage built in Seo Yul's chest, cold and controlled. He scheduled a company-wide meeting for that afternoon. Then, he waited for Executive Kim. The man arrived exactly on time, smug and confident. "Sir, thank you for seeing me. I really think we need to discuss the security protocols and the concerns about the cleaning staff member who was found in your office. Okay, here's a perfect spot for you to do something that actually helps this story reach more people. Drop a comment right now. Tell me what you think is about to happen next. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and fix that, because things are about to get intense, and you don't want to miss what comes next." "You're fired," Seo Yul said calmly. Kim blinked. "Excuse me?" "Effective immediately. HR will process your termination. You have 1 hour to collect your personal items and leave the building." "You can't. I haven't done anything wrong. This is about her, isn't it? About that cleaner. Sir, I was trying to protect the company's reputation. By harassing an employee, by spreading malicious gossip, by creating a hostile work environment. So-Yul's voice never rose, but the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Security footage shows you've been engaged in systematic bullying. That's grounds for immediate termination under company policy. This is insane. You're throwing away a senior executive because you're sleeping with the help. The words hung in the air like poison. So-Yul stood. When he spoke, his voice was deadly quiet. Get out of my building. If you're not gone in 1 hour, I'll have you escorted out by security. And if I hear that you've said one more word about Ms. Kumalo to anyone, inside or outside this company, I will personally ensure that you never work in Seoul again. Do you understand me? Kim's face went white. He'd finally realized he'd crossed a line he couldn't uncross. You'll regret this, he said, but his voice shook. I regret not doing it sooner. Get out. After Kim left, So-Yul sat back down and started counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. His hands were shaking. Confrontation triggered his anxiety, made everything feel unstable. But this had been necessary. Overdue, even. He pulled up the company-wide meeting notice and began typing the message that would accompany it. That afternoon, every employee in the Black Tower received a memo. Effective immediately, this company has zero tolerance for workplace harassment of any kind. This includes gossip, discrimination, bullying, or creating hostile environments for any staff member, regardless of their position, background, or nationality. Violations will result in immediate termination. No exceptions. HR will be scheduling mandatory training on workplace conduct for all departments. This is not optional. The meeting that followed was brief and brutal. So-Yul stood at the front of the main conference room, his expression carved from ice, and made it clear that the culture of gossip and harassment was over. He never mentioned Zanelli by name. Didn't have to. Everyone knew exactly what had prompted this. As employees filed out, the whispers started again. But this time they were different. Nervous, worried. People who'd participated in the harassment suddenly realized they might be next. Zanelli heard about all of it third-hand from Maria, who'd heard from a friend who worked in accounting. Your boss apparently went nuclear today, Maria said over coffee after their Korean class. Fired some executive, sent out a company-wide memo about harassment. The whole thing. Everyone's freaking out. Zanelli's stomach twisted. Why would he do that? Girl, are you serious right now? Because of you. Because people have been treating you like garbage. And he finally noticed. But I never said anything to him. I never complained. Maybe he has eyes, Maria said gently. Look, I know you keep saying nothing's happening between you two, and I believe you. But Zanelli, someone who cares about you, made sure people would stop hurting you. That's not nothing. After Maria left, Zanelli sat with those words. Someone who cares about you. Did he care? Or was this just about his reputation? About controlling his company? She didn't know him well enough to guess. But her shift started in 2 hours, and she'd have to face him. Have to figure out what to say. Thank you felt too small. Asking why felt too big. Pretending nothing happened felt dishonest. She arrived at the Black Tower that night with her stomach in knots. His office door was open when she got there. He stood by the window, hands in his pockets, looking out at Seoul's nighttime skyline. Mr. Han, she said from the doorway. I heard about what happened today. It was overdue. You didn't have to do that. He turned to face her. In the dim light from the city below, his features looked softer somehow. Tired, maybe. Yes, I did. Why? The question escaped before she could stop it. Direct, demanding. So-Yul was quiet for a long moment. Then, because you deserve to work without being harassed. Because what they were doing was wrong. Because I don't tolerate bullying in my company. All logical reasons. All true, probably. But something in his voice suggested there was more he wasn't saying. Zanelli stepped into the office. Everyone thinks we're together. That I'm your girlfriend or your mistress or something. You firing that executive and defending me just made it worse. You know that, right? I know. So why do it? Why make yourself part of the gossip? Because their assumptions about me stopped mattering years ago. He moved away from the window, closer to her, but still maintaining careful distance. What they think they know about my life, about who I am. It's all speculation anyway. Let them speculate about this too. But I have to work here. Have to face these people every night. You shouldn't have to face their cruelty. The words were simple, but fierce. Protective in a way Zanelli hadn't expected. I don't understand you, she said honestly. One minute you're this cold, distant boss that everyone's afraid of. The next you're giving me your coat and defending me in front of the whole company. I don't know what any of this means. C.O. Yule's hands came out of his pockets, and she saw him start the counting pattern she'd noticed before. Fingers against thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A nervous habit, maybe. I don't entirely understand it either, he admitted. I'm not good at this. At people. At explaining myself. I have certain conditions that make social interaction difficult. The hand-washing, Zanelli said quietly. The way everything in your office has to be exactly positioned. The counting you're doing right now. He stopped counting, looked surprised. You noticed? I notice a lot of things. She took a small step closer. My brother, Sifo. He has anxiety. Different from yours, I think. But I recognize the signs. The rituals that help you feel in control. It's called obsessive-compulsive disorder. OCD. Severe. According to my therapist. The admission hung between them, vulnerable and honest. That's why you're so particular about your office, Zanelli said, understanding clicking into place. Why people aren't allowed to touch things. It's not about being controlling. It's about managing your anxiety. Yes. And when I fell asleep in your chair, that must have been terrible for you. Everything out of order. A stranger in your space. It should have been, he said. It should have triggered every defense mechanism I have. But it didn't. You didn't. And I've been trying to understand why ever since. The confession made her heart skip. This powerful, intimidating man was standing in his office at night, telling her that she'd somehow slipped past his carefully constructed walls. The scholarship, she said suddenly. The Korean language classes. That was you. He didn't deny it. You needed it. I could provide it. It seemed simple. Nothing about this is simple. But she was smiling despite herself. You can't just pay for people's education anonymously and expect them not to ask questions. I can try. A laugh escaped her, surprising them both. You're very strange, Mr. Han. Seoyul, he corrected. When it's just us, you can call me Seoyul. Then you should call me Zanelle. Zanelle. He said her name carefully, like he was learning a new word. It suits you. It means Mother of Peace. I know. I looked it up. Of course he did. This man who noticed everything, who'd watched her enough to know she needed help, who'd researched her name. It should have felt invasive. Instead, it felt like being seen. I should probably clean, she said, breaking the moment before it became too much. That's why I'm here. Right? Yes. He moved back to his desk, putting distance between them. I'll just work while you. That's fine. They fell into the routine that had become familiar. Him typing, her cleaning. But tonight felt different. The air between them hummed with everything they'd said, and everything they hadn't. When Zanelli finished, she paused at the door. Seoyul? He looked up. Thank you. For the scholarship. For defending me. For all of it. You don't have to thank me. I do, though. Because you didn't have to do any of it. But you did anyway. She left before he could respond. But she carried his expression with her. Soft. Almost shy. Completely different from the cold mask he showed the world. In the elevator, she touched her cheeks and found them warm. Her heart was doing strange things in her chest. Fluttering, skipping. This was dangerous. He was her employer, wealthy and powerful, and completely out of her league. Getting attached would only lead to heartbreak. But when she got home and video called her siblings, and Sifo asked why she was smiling so much, she couldn't quite make herself stop. Upstairs in the Black Tower, Han Seo-yul sat at his desk, not working. Just thinking about a woman who cleaned his office and somehow made the space feel less lonely. who noticed his rituals without judgment, who smiled like sunshine breaking through clouds. He was in trouble. Deep, complicated trouble. And for the first time in his carefully controlled life, he didn't want to find a way out. 3 weeks passed, and everything changed while staying exactly the same. Zanelli's Korean improved rapidly. She could hold conversations now, understand the whispers that still followed her through the Black Tower's hallways. Most of the harassment had stopped after Seo Yul's company-wide memo, but the curiosity remained. People watched her, wondered, speculated. She tried not to care. What mattered was the scholarship letting her build a real life in Seoul. What mattered was sending money home while actually keeping enough to eat properly. What mattered was Maria and her new friends from class, the community she was finally building. And what mattered, though she tried not to think about it too much, was the man on the 63rd floor who left her small gifts like they were secrets. A book about Korean culture appeared on the cleaning cart one night, just sitting there with a sticky note. Thought you might find this interesting. A thermal lunch container showed up in her locker, with a note in careful handwriting. You should eat warm food. Once she found a photograph she'd dropped, the one of her siblings, carefully placed in a protective sleeve with a note that said simply, "This fell from your pocket." He never handed her these things directly, never made a show of it, just left them like treasures for her to find, and somehow that made them more precious. Their midnight conversations grew longer. He told her about growing up lonely, in a family that didn't understand his condition. She told him about Durban, about raising her siblings after their parents died, about the weight of being someone's whole world. "You're very strong," he said one night, his voice quiet. "I don't feel strong. Most days I feel like I'm barely holding on." That's what strength is, holding on when letting go would be easier. She looked at him across the office, this complicated man with his careful rituals and hidden kindness, and felt something shift in her chest, something warm and terrifying. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Yes." "That night, when you found me asleep in your chair, why didn't you just wake me up?" "Call security? Why did you give me your coat?" Seo Yul was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "Because you looked peaceful, and I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen someone look that peaceful in my space. Usually people are nervous around me, afraid, but you were just sleeping, trusting that you were safe." He paused. "I didn't want to break that trust." Zanelli's throat tightened. "I was safe." "I know. I made sure of it." The moment stretched between them, heavy with meaning. Then Zanelli's phone buzzed, breaking the spell. She glanced at it, and her heart stopped. Sifo's name flashed on the screen. He never called during her work hours, unless something was wrong. "I have to take this," she said, stepping into the hallway. "Zanelli." Her brother's voice was strained. "It's Thandi. She collapsed at school today. They took her to the hospital." The world tilted. What? What happened? They don't know yet. They're running tests, but it's expensive. The insurance doesn't cover everything, and they want payment up front for the scans they need to do. "How much?" He named a figure that made her stomach drop. More than she had. More than she could get quickly. "I'll figure it out," she said, her voice shaking. "I'll send money tonight. Just make sure they take care of her. Whatever they need to do, just do it." After hanging up, she stood in the empty hallway, trying to breathe, trying to think. She had some savings, but not enough. Could pick up extra shifts, but Thandi needed help now, not next week. She could ask Seo Yul. He'd probably help without hesitation. But the thought made her feel sick. He'd already done so much, already paid for her classes, defended her, given her gifts. Asking for more felt like proving everyone right, like she was using him. Pride and desperation warred in her chest. Pride won. She went back into the office, grabbed her cleaning supplies. "I have to go. Family emergency." Seo Yul stood immediately. "What happened?" "My sister. She's in the hospital. I just need to go." "Let me help." "No." The word came out too sharp. "I mean, thank you, but I can handle it." She left before he could argue, before she could break down. before she could do something stupid, like accept his help and hate herself for it. The next 3 days were a nightmare. Zanelli picked up every extra shift she could find, worked herself to exhaustion, sent every bit of money home, and still it wasn't enough. The hospital needed more tests, more scans, more answers that all cost more money. She stopped going to Korean class, stopped eating properly, stopped sleeping more than a few hours a night. On the 4th day, Maria found her in the bathroom at the Black Tower, crying over a text from Saifo. The tests had found something. Thandi needed surgery. Soon. "How much do you need?" Maria asked gently. Zanelli told her. Maria's face fell. "I don't have that kind of money. But maybe we can do a fundraiser? Ask the other students?" "There's no time. The surgery needs to happen this week, or the condition gets worse." "Then you need to ask him. Your boss, Yul. He clearly cares about you, and he has the money." "I can't." Zanelli wiped her eyes roughly. "Everyone already thinks I'm using him. If I ask for money now, it just proves them right. Who cares what they think? Your sister needs help." "I care. I care because I'm not that person. I don't trade favors for money. I don't use people." Maria gripped her shoulders. "Asking someone who cares about you for help isn't using them. It's trusting them. There's a difference." But Zanelli couldn't do it. Couldn't cross that line. Instead, she contacted a loan company that targeted foreign workers. The interest rate was criminal, but she was desperate. They approved her that afternoon. She sent the money home, then went to work her shift, exhausted and relieved, and terrified about how she'd ever pay back the loan. Yul noticed immediately that something was wrong. She moved slowly, her usual careful attention replaced by mechanical motions. Her eyes were red. She'd lost weight in just 4 days. "Zanelli," he said, standing from his desk. "What's going on?" "Nothing. I'm fine." "You're not fine. Talk to me." "I said I'm fine," her voice cracked. "Please, just let me work." But as she bent to pick up her cleaning supplies, the exhaustion and stress and 4 nights of barely sleeping caught up with her all at once. The room spun. Her knees buckled. Yul caught her before she hit the ground. The contact should have triggered his anxiety. He didn't like being touched, didn't like unexpected physical contact, but all he felt was fear, as Zanelli's weight went limp in his arms. "Zanelli, Zanelli, wake up." Her eyes fluttered open, confused. "I'm okay. Just dizzy." "You're not okay. When did you last eat? Sleep?" "I don't remember. Yesterday, maybe. I've been working extra shifts and there's been a lot happening, and I just need to finish this office." "No." He made a decision. "We're going to the hospital." "What?" "No. I can't afford that." "I don't care. You just collapsed. You need to see a doctor." She tried to pull away, but her legs wouldn't support her. "Yul, please. I can't deal with a hospital bill right now. I just sent everything I have to South Africa for my sister's surgery, and I can barely afford rent, and I really can't handle anything else." The words tumbled out in a rush, breaking down the wall she'd been maintaining. Yul's expression shifted from concern to understanding to something that looked like anger. "Your sister needed surgery and you didn't tell me? It's not your problem." "Like hell it isn't." He pulled out his phone, made a call. "I need a car at the Black Tower immediately. We're going to Seoul National Hospital." Then another call. "Transfer funds to my personal account." "Yes, now." "International wire. I'll send you the details." "Stop," Zanelli said weakly. "You can't just throw money at my problems. Watch me." He was already typing on his phone. "What's your brother's number?" "Why?" "Because I'm sending money for your sister's surgery and any other medical expenses. Give me his number." "No." Yul, no. "I already took out a loan. It's handled." He looked at her like she'd grown a second head. "You took out a loan? Those companies that target foreign workers charge 30% interest, sometimes more." "I know, but it was my only option." "I was your option. I've been your option this entire time. Why didn't you just ask me?" "Because I'm not a charity case." The words exploded out of her. "Because everyone already thinks I'm using you." sleeping with you for money and favors, because accepting help from you would just prove them right, because I need to handle my own life. Seo Yul crouched down so they were eye level. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. Listen to me very carefully. I don't give a single damn what anyone in this building thinks. Not about me, not about you, not about us. The only thing I care about right now is that you're exhausted and sick because you were too proud to let someone help you. That stops now. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. Zanelli's eyes filled with tears. I've been taking care of myself and my siblings since I was 17. 7 years of being the strong one, the responsible one, the one who fixes everything. Asking for help feels like admitting I failed, like I'm not enough. You're not supposed to be enough for everything. Nobody is. His voice softened. Please let me help. Not because you owe me anything. Not because of whatever relationship people think we have. But because your sister needs surgery, and you need medical care, and I have the resources to make both those things happen easily. I'll pay you back. I don't want you to pay me back. Then what do you want? The question hung in the air between them. Si Soyul's expression did something complicated, vulnerable and certain at the same time. I want you to be okay, he said quietly. I want your sister to get her surgery. I want you to not have to choose between eating and sending money home. I want you to let someone take care of you for once, instead of carrying everything alone. A tear slipped down Zanelli's cheek. Why do you care so much? Because somewhere between finding you asleep in my chair and right now, you became important to me, and I protect the people who are important to me. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. Car's here. We're going to the hospital. You're seeing a doctor, and I'm wiring money to your brother. You can argue with me the entire way if it makes you feel better, but those 3 things are happening. Zanelli was too exhausted to fight anymore. She let him help her to the elevator, into the waiting car, through the hospital entrance. And Seo Yul, who avoided hospitals because of germs and contamination fears, who sanitized his hands compulsively in medical settings, who had actual panic attacks in crowded waiting rooms, stayed by her side the entire time. She saw his discomfort, saw him counting under his breath, saw his hands flex like he was fighting the urge to wash them, saw the tension in his shoulders. You should go, she said, as they waited for the doctor. I know this is hard for you. I'm not leaving. Seo, you're OCD. This environment, it's triggering you. I can see it. I don't care. I care. You don't have to torture yourself for me. He looked at her then, really looked at her, and said, yes, I do. Because you matter more than my comfort. You matter more than my rituals. You matter more than my fear. So I'm staying, and you're going to let me, and we're both going to stop being so stubborn about accepting help from each other. Zanelli started crying in earnest then. Not sad tears, but the kind that came from something breaking open inside. All the exhaustion, the fear, the loneliness she'd been carrying for 7 years. It poured out in the sterile hospital room while this impossible man held her hand and didn't let go, even though she knew physical contact was hard for him. The doctor confirmed she was severely dehydrated and exhausted, but otherwise okay. They gave her an IV, instructions to rest, and a stern lecture about self-care. While she recovered in the observation room, Seo Yul stepped into the hallway and made his calls. Money wired to Sifo, enough for the surgery, and 6 months of follow-up care. The loan company contacted, and the amount paid off in full. A conversation with his attorney about setting up a medical fund for her family. When he returned, Zanelli was sitting up, looking more alert. It's done, he said. Your brother has the money. Your sister's surgery is scheduled for tomorrow. The loan is paid off. How much did you send? He told her. She went pale. That's too much, way too much. It's enough to make sure she gets the best care, and you stop worrying for a while. That's exactly the right amount. I can't accept this. You already did. The wire went through 10 minutes ago. Zanelli stared at him, this wealthy, complicated man who'd just casually solved her biggest problem, like it was nothing. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me. Just promise me something. What? Next time something happens, you'll tell me. You'll let me help before it gets to the point of you collapsing. That's not fair. You can't just fix all my problems. Watch me try. He sat in the chair next to her bed, careful not to touch the hospital equipment. Zanelli, I'm not good at a lot of things. Relationships, expressing emotions, being normal. But I'm very good at solving problems with resources. Let me use what I'm good at to help someone I care about. Please. Someone I care about. The words settled into her heart, warm and terrifying. Okay, she whispered. I promise. His shoulders relaxed slightly. Good. They sat in comfortable silence until the IV finished. Then C.O. Yule drove her home in his personal car, walked her to her door, and made her promise to rest for the next 2 days. I have shifts, she protested. I already called your supervisor. You're taking sick leave. Paid. Of course you did. Of course I did. He smiled, small and almost shy. Get some sleep, Zanelli. After he left, she collapsed on her bed and called Sifo. The money came through, her brother said, sounding stunned. Zanelli, who is this person? The wire said it was from a private account. Someone who wanted to help. This is a lot of money. You didn't do anything dangerous to get it, did you? No. I just finally let someone be kind to me. After hanging up, she thought about Seo Yule's expression in the hospital. The way he'd stayed despite his fear. The way he'd held her hand. The way he'd said she mattered. This was more than kindness, more than charity. This was something real, and growing, and absolutely terrifying. And she was falling for him. Had probably been falling since the night he'd covered her with his coat. The realization should have scared her more. Instead, it felt like finally admitting something she'd known all along. The next 2 weeks were different. Zanelli recovered. Thandi's surgery went perfectly. C.O. Yule stopped pretending their relationship was just employer and employee. He took her to dinner, actual dinner, at a quiet restaurant where they talked for 3 hours. He told her about his childhood, about the OCD developing after a traumatic event, about years of therapy and learning to manage. She told him about her parents, about becoming mother of peace at 17, about the guilt of leaving her siblings to chase a better life. You didn't leave them, he said firmly. You're supporting them. There's a difference. Sometimes it feels the same. It's not. They're proud of you. I can tell from the way you talk about your calls with them. He was right. Sifo and Thandi understood why she'd left, supported her dreams, but the guilt lingered anyway. Sifo Yu reached across the table and took her hand. The gesture was deliberate, meaningful. He didn't like casual touch, but this wasn't casual. You're allowed to build a life here, he said. You're allowed to want things for yourself. What if I'm starting to want things I shouldn't? Like what? Zanelli looked at their joined hands, at this man who'd bulldozed through every wall she'd built. Like you. His breath caught. That's not something you shouldn't want. Isn't it? You're my employer. You're wealthy and powerful, and I'm a cleaner from South Africa who fell asleep in your chair. This is a drama plot, not real life. Feels pretty real to me. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. I've never done this before. Dated someone, cared about someone like this. My OCD makes relationships complicated. I have routines and rituals and bad days where I can barely function. I'm not easy to be with. I'm not exactly simple either. I have trauma and family obligations, and I'm still learning the language. We're both complicated. Then maybe we're complicated together. Zainul smiled despite herself. Is that your idea of a romantic declaration? I told you I'm not good at this. But he was smiling too, soft and genuine. How's this? I think about you constantly. You make my perfectly ordered life feel less empty. When you're in my office, I can breathe easier. When you're not, I count the hours until you will be. I want to know everything about you. I want to support your dreams. I want to be someone you can rely on. And I really, really want to kiss you. But I'm terrified I'll do it wrong. Her heart was doing gymnastics in her chest. You wouldn't do it wrong. You don't know that. Then I guess we'll have to find out. She leaned across the table and kissed him. Soft, gentle, nothing dramatic. just lips meeting, tentative and sweet. When they pulled apart, Seoyul looked dazed. Oh. Oh? That was better than I imagined. And I imagined it a lot. Zaineli laughed, bright and happy. You're very strange, Seoyul. You've mentioned that before. Still true. They left the restaurant hand in hand, and for the first time since arriving in Seoul, Zanele felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. But of course, nothing good lasts without a fight. Before we get to what happens next, I need you to do something for me. If this story is giving you all the feelings, if you're invested in Zanele and Seoyul, hit that subscribe button right now, because what's coming next is going to make you so glad you're here for the rest of this journey. Go ahead, I'll wait. The attack came from Seoyul's business rival, a man named Jung who'd been trying to buy the Black Tower for years. Someone leaked photos to the media, Seoyul and Zanele at dinner, holding hands, kissing. The captions were vicious. Billionaire's secret foreign girlfriend, cleaning lady strikes gold. From mop to mansion, the Cinderella story that has Seoul talking. Sources say she targeted him, inside the alleged gold-digging scheme. The articles painted Zanele as a manipulator who'd seduced her way into Seoyul's life. They speculated about money, about immigration status, about everything ugly and racist they could imply, without outright saying it. By morning, the story had spread everywhere. Zanele woke to hundreds of messages, some supportive from friends, most hateful from strangers. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Maria called, furious. This is garbage. Absolute garbage. Are you okay? I don't know. Zanele sat on her bed, numb. I knew people would talk, but this is different. This is everywhere. What does Seoyul say? I haven't talked to him yet. I'm scared to. Why? He won't believe this trash. But what if he regrets it? Regrets me? His private life is now public because of me. Because of whoever took those photos, you mean? This isn't your fault. But it felt like her fault. Felt like she'd brought chaos into his carefully ordered world. When Seoyul called an hour later, she almost didn't answer. Are you okay? He asked immediately. Not really. Have you seen the articles? I've seen them. They're lies. They're not all lies. We are together. I was a cleaner. The facts are real. Just the context is twisted. Then we fix the context. His voice was firm. I'm holding a press conference this afternoon. I want you there with me. Zanele's stomach dropped. What? No. That'll make it worse. Hiding makes it worse. Standing together shows them they can't break us apart with gossip. Seoyul, I can't. I can't stand in front of cameras and reporters and defend myself against people who've already decided I'm a villain. You go. Make a statement. But leave me out of it. No. What do you mean, no? I mean I'm not doing this without you. We face it together or not at all. That's not fair. You're used to media attention. I've never dealt with anything like this. Then I'll be right next to you the entire time. Please, Zanele, trust me. She wanted to say no. Wanted to hide in her apartment until the story died down. But Maria's words echoed in her head. Asking someone who cares about you for help isn't using them. It's trusting them. Okay, she whispered. I'll be there. The press conference was scheduled for 3 that afternoon, at the Black Tower. Seoyul sent a car for her, along with one of his attorneys to prep her on what to expect. Don't feel obligated to answer every question, the attorney advised. Mr. Han will handle most of it. You're just there to show a united front. But when Zanele arrived and saw the crowd of reporters, the cameras, the chaos, she nearly ran. Seoyul found her in the hallway, breathing hard, on the edge of panic. I can't do this, she said. There are so many people, and they all hate me, and I don't know what to say. He took both her hands. Look at me, just me. Forget everyone else. She focused on his face, on the steadiness in his eyes. You are not what they're saying, he continued. You're strong and kind, and you work harder than anyone I know. You take care of your family. You learn new things every day. You made my life better just by being in it. That's the truth. Everything else is noise. What if the noise is too loud? Then we'll be louder. He led her to the conference room, where cameras flashed like lightning. Zainali's hand tightened on his, her only anchor in the chaos. Co Yul stepped up to the microphone, Zainali beside him. "Thank you for coming," he began, his voice calm and controlled. "I'm here to address the articles published this morning about my personal life. First, the facts. Yes, I'm in a relationship with Zanele Kumalo. Yes, she works for my company as a cleaning professional. No, there is nothing inappropriate, manipulative, or scandalous about how we met or how our relationship developed." A reporter shouted a question. "Mr. Han, isn't there a power imbalance issue with dating an employee?" "Miss Kumalo is not my direct report, and never has been. We met by chance and developed a friendship that became something more. The same way millions of people meet their partners. At work, through mutual interests, through circumstance. But the age difference, the wealth gap, are our business, not yours." His voice sharpened. "I'm not here to justify my relationship. I'm here to correct the lies being spread about someone I care about. Ms. Kumalo didn't seduce me, didn't target me, didn't manipulate her way into my life. She worked hard, showed kindness, and earned my respect and affection through her character. The insinuation that she's incapable of being valued for who she is, that the only explanation for our relationship is deception, that's not just false. It's racist and classist, and I won't tolerate it." The room went silent. Zanele squeezed his hand, giving him strength. He glanced at her, then continued. "I have OCD, severe obsessive-compulsive disorder, that affects my daily life in ways most people don't see or understand. For years, I've kept people at a distance because managing my condition is exhausting, and I didn't want to burden anyone with it. Zanele is the first person who saw my rituals, my struggles, and didn't treat me like I was broken. She's patient and understanding, and she makes my life better. That's why I care about her, not because she's convenient or available, but because she's extraordinary." He turned to face Zanele fully. "I'm sorry this is happening. Sorry that my life comes with this kind of scrutiny. Sorry that people are being cruel. But I'm not sorry about us, not for a second." Tears pricked Zanele's eyes. Then she did something she hadn't planned. She stepped up to the microphone. "Can I say something?" Seo Yul moved aside, giving her space. Zanele looked at the cameras, at all the strangers ready to judge her, and took a breath. "My name is Zanele Kumalo. It means Mother of Peace. I came to Seoul 8 months ago, to work and support my younger siblings back home. I took a cleaning job because it was available and honest work. I never expected to meet someone like Seo Yul. Never thought someone like him would see someone like me as worth his time." Her voice steadied. "But he did. Not because I tricked him or used him, because he's a good person who looks past surfaces, who values kindness and hard work, who treated me with respect when others didn't. You can write whatever stories you want about me. You can call me names and question my motives, but you don't know me. You don't know what I've sacrificed, or how hard I've worked, or what I've overcome to be here, and your assumptions say more about you than they do about me." She looked directly into the nearest camera. "I'm not a gold digger. I'm not a scheme. I'm just a woman who fell for a good man, and I'm not ashamed of that." The room erupted in questions, but Seo Yul put his arm around her shoulders and led her away from the microphone. They left through a back exit, escaping into his private car. Once inside, Zanele started shaking. "I can't believe I just did that. You were amazing." "I was terrified." "You were amazing and terrified. Both things can be true." He pulled her close, letting her tuck against his shoulder. "I'm proud of you. What happens now?" "Now we let the media spin however they want. Some will support us, some won't. But we told our truth. That's what matters." He was right. The response was mixed. Some outlets praised their honesty. Others doubled down on the scandal angle. But slowly, public opinion started to shift. Stories emerged about Zanele's work ethic, about the scholarship program Seo Yul had quietly funded for foreign workers, about his company's improved treatment of service staff after he took over. The narrative changed from scandal to love story. Not everywhere, but enough. A month passed. Then, too, the media frenzy died down. Life found a new normal. Zanelli moved into a better apartment with Co. Yule's help, though she insisted on paying rent. She continued her Korean classes and was promoted to a facilities coordinator position at the Black Tower, a real career path with benefits and growth potential. Co. Yule introduced her to his therapist, who helped her process her own trauma and the stress of sudden public attention. They went to couples counseling to learn how to navigate his OCD and her caretaker tendencies in healthy ways. Her siblings video-called more often, excited to see her happy. Thandi's recovery went perfectly. Sifo aced his exams. Everything wasn't perfect. Co. Yule still had bad OCD days where he couldn't leave the apartment. Zanelli still struggled with guilt about being happy while far from home. They argued sometimes about money, about boundaries, about the future. But they worked through it, together. 6 months after the press conference, Zanelli arrived at the Black Tower for a night shift. She no longer technically had to work, but sometimes did anyway because she liked the quiet. She went up to the 63rd floor out of habit. Co. Yule's office door was open. And there he was, sitting in his chair, looking at something on his desk. "What are you doing here so late?" she asked from the doorway. He looked up and smiled. "Waiting for you." "Why?" "Come see." Zanelli entered the office that had started everything. The desk was clear except for one object, her old cleaning gloves, the ones with torn fingertips from that first night. "You kept these?" "I keep things that matter." He stood, came around the desk. "I have a question for you." "Okay. That night, when you fell asleep in my chair, what were you dreaming about?" Zanelli thought back. Home, my siblings, belonging somewhere. And now I dream about this, about Seoul, about building a life here. She paused. "About you." Co. Yule reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Zanelli's heart stopped. "I'm not good at this," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "I'm not romantic or smooth. I count to 5 when I'm nervous, and I sanitize everything, and I have rituals that probably seem crazy. But I love you. I love your strength and your kindness, and the way you see me as human instead of just my diagnosis. I love that you fell asleep in my chair, and somehow that became the best thing that ever happened to me." He opened the box. Inside was a simple, beautiful ring. "I'm not asking you to give up your family or your culture or anything that makes you who you are. I'm asking if you'll build a life with me. Here, in South Africa sometimes, wherever we need to be. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Zanelli's face. "You did the unthinkable." "What?" "You let me in, past all your walls and fears and perfect order. You let me make a mess of your controlled life. Best mess I ever made." He was crying too, she realized. "Is that a yes?" "Yes, yes, of course yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, then pulled her close. They stood in the office where everything had started, holding each other, both crying and laughing. "Can I tell you something?" Zanelli said against his shoulder. "Anything. I'd like to fall asleep in your chair again sometime." Co. Yule laughed, the sound bright and free. "Anytime you want. Right now?" "Right now." They settled into the chair together. Zanelli curled against him, his arms wrapped around her. The office lights cast soft shadows. The city glowed beyond the windows. "Hey," Zanelli murmured. "Thank you." "For what?" "For covering me with your coat that night. For seeing me when I felt invisible. For being brave enough to care." "Thank you for staying," he whispered back. "For not running when things got complicated. For teaching me that sometimes the most beautiful things in life arrive completely out of order." They sat in comfortable silence, two people who'd found each other in the most unexpected way, building something real from chaos and chance. 1 year later, they married in a ceremony that blended Korean and Zulu traditions. Sifo and Thandiwe flew to Seoul, and Se-Yul met them with nervous excitement. They adored him immediately. The Black Tower implemented new programs for immigrant workers. Fair wages, language classes, healthcare, paths to advancement. Other companies followed suit. Zanelli finished her Korean studies and started working on a degree in business management. She still cleaned Seo-yul's office sometimes, because she liked the quiet ritual of it, the way it reminded her of how far they'd come. Seo-yul's OCD remained part of their life, but therapy helped him manage it. Zanelli learned his patterns, helped him through bad days, celebrated good ones. And sometimes, after long days of meetings and work, and the beautiful chaos of building a life together, Zanelli would fall asleep in his office chair. And Seo-yul would cover her with his coat, sit beside her, and thank whatever twist of fate had brought a woman named Mother of Peace into his perfectly ordered world, and made it infinitely better by disrupting everything. Because some love stories start with scandal, and gossip, and impossible odds. But the best ones, the ones that last, start with one person seeing another person's humanity and choosing kindness over fear. The rest is just details. If this story touched your heart, if you felt every moment of Zanelli and Seo-yul's journey, do me one last favor. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a comment telling me what you thought, and share this with someone who needs to hear a story about love that breaks all the rules but feels absolutely right. Because stories like this deserve to be shared, and your support means everything. Thank you for being here for this whole beautiful journey.